On this edition of Good Day DePaul, demonstrators protest the release from prison of Jason Van Dyke, the policeman who killed Laquan McDonald.
The Biden presidency, how do people at DePaul feel the president is doing?
And esports take off at DePaul. I'm Tiffany Payton.
And I'm Maria Marta Guzman, and this is Good Day DePaul. Last week, demonstrators gathered in downtown Chicago. They were protesting the release from prison of Jason Van Dyke, a former Chicago police officer who shot and killed Laquan McDonald. Van Dyke had been convicted of manslaughter and was sentenced to more than 6 years in prison, but he was released after serving just over 3 years. Good Day DePaul's Haley De Silva was at the protest and has this report.
Dozens of protesters gathered here at Federal Plaza on February 3rd to protest the early release of former Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke, who in 2018 was convicted of the second-degree murder of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald, a murder that was captured on video. The demonstration began with opening remarks from Bishop Tavis Grant, the national field director for the Rainbow Push Coalition, which organized the demonstration.
We know that reports were falsified. We know that witnesses were tampered with, and we know that the video was suppressed by the City Hall for over 400 days. 16 shots and a cover-up.
Two other leaders of the demonstration, Tyrone Muhammad and Gregory Sherman of ex-cons committed to social change, expressed outrage at Van Dyke's early release. They recalled their frustration when it was revealed the city of Chicago attempted to cover up the video evidence of Van Dyke shooting McDonald 16 times.
I'm out here to support the family of Laquan McDonald. It's appalling to me that men who's incarcerated for cannabis, for marijuana, spend more time in jail than of someone like Jason Van Dyke who shoot a person and murder a person, 16 shots in a cover-up.
It's a new day and era. It's a new day and era. You are watching the revolution. We will not sit back and allow you to kill our kids anymore. We will not sit back and allow you to harass our children anymore. We will resist.
The demonstration went on with little issue until 9 protesters were seen locking arms inside the federal building. They referred to themselves as the Laquan 9 and were taken into custody, charged with misdemeanor civil contempt. Among those initially detained was Tracy Hunter, McDonald's grandmother, though she was soon released from police custody. Hunter told reporters, quote, "They arrested and locked up some of our comrades because we're fighting for our human rights. We should be able to be treated like humans because we are humans. And since they don't, we're going to take over the streets and we're going to shut down the entire city of Chicago until we get the justice that we deserve." The protesters' main demand was for federal charges to be issued against Van Dyke, charges that could possibly lead to a longer sentence. DePaul marketing professor Demetrius Jordan, who specializes in criminal justice reform, says Laquan McDonald had mental health problems and should not have been killed.
Here's an individual who had mental health issues and a police officer who had no training on dealing with someone with mental health issues and only did what he was trained to do, to react violently. Whereas if there were actual mental health officers who had that kind of training, who understood and knew how much of a threat the young man was or wasn't, and would have tempered their response, this turns out differently. Officer Van Dyke doesn't go to jail. He doesn't kill anyone. The city doesn't pay out a huge payout that they had to do, and Laquan McDonald doesn't lose his life.
Illinois Senators Tammy Duckworth and Dick Durbin have both written letters to the Justice Department urging for federal charges similar to the case against Derek Chauvin, who was charged at both the state and federal level for the murder of George Floyd in 2020. At this time, the Justice Department says they're reviewing the case. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Haley De Silva.
Historically Black universities across the nation have received bomb threats. At least 8 of the colleges were targeted early last month. The FBI is investigating the threats as hate crimes and identified as many as 6 possible suspects, all juveniles.
Throughout the country, Republican state legislators and governors are passing restrictive abortion laws, and that's led many women from those states to come to Illinois for abortions. Good Day DePaul's Sadie Fisher explains.
The Supreme Court of the United States is currently debating Dobbs v. Jackson, a case that could overturn Roe v. Wade, the 1973 Supreme Court ruling that legalized abortion. At the same time, Illinois is seeing an increase in out-of-state patients traveling here to get abortions, people who are coming from states where abortion has been restricted. In 2020, Illinois reported a 29% increase in out-of-state patients, with almost 9,700 women traveling here for abortions.
We're not surprised that there is an increase in out-of-state abortion patients. With so many restrictions being enacted nationwide and in the states directly around Illinois, more and more people are facing a daunting dilemma. The choice of, do I travel hundreds of miles to get the care I need? Do I seek an illegal alternative, or be forced to carry a pregnancy against my will?
And while there is no data for last year, Leahy wouldn't be shocked if there was a similar increase.
I can't predict what the numbers would be for 2021, but given the fact that in 2021, we saw record numbers of abortion restrictions being introduced and passed in states across the country, I would imagine that the numbers probably have increased in the last year. We know that patients are having a harder and harder time accessing the care they need.
And this is especially true in Texas, which last year passed one of the nation's most restrictive abortion laws.
We have also seen in Texas, a law go into effect now, 5 months ago, basically cutting off all abortion access. So it's just a fact that abortion is severely restricted in many, many parts of the country. At the same time, Illinois lawmakers have made Illinois a place where people can still access reproductive health care.
Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the Reproductive Health Act in 2019, which guarantees abortion as a fundamental right in Illinois.
This means that your decisions about your reproductive health care, everything from deciding about birth control or sterilization to being pregnant and making decisions about your prenatal care, your delivery, choosing adoption, and including decisions around abortion, all of those are recognized as fundamental rights in the state of Illinois. And that law is in effect here in Illinois and will remain in effect no matter what might happen at the Supreme Court.
The U.S. could know by mid-year the state of Roe v. Wade when the Supreme Court makes its decision on Dobbs v. Jackson, a decision that could impact over half the country.
If the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade or seriously undermines it, we know that there are at least 26 states that could completely ban abortion or restrict it so severely that it would be virtually impossible to access. That means millions of Americans would be denied the right to make decisions about abortion and access the care they need in their home state.
Planned Parenthood of Illinois has seen an uptick in out-of-state patients for the past few years, and they're prepared for more patients if Roe v. Wade is overturned.
Healthcare is a human right, and reproductive rights are fundamental rights, and we need to respect them all. So no matter whether we live in Illinois or we're serving people who are forced to come to Illinois because their rights are being denied in another state, Planned Parenthood of Illinois is here for patients, and we are open, seeing patients, and we will continue to do so.
She says that it's important for everyone, whether they live in Illinois or out of state, to know that there are plenty of resources and people who want to help, no matter their needs. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Sadie Fisher.
DePaul's search for a new president ran into an unexpected problem. The search advisory committee approved 4 finalists for the job, but 2 of the candidates pulled out due to personal considerations. So the committee is now evaluating other candidates. The current president, A. Gabriel Esteban, is stepping down in June.
We're now more than 1 year into the Biden administration, and already the president has dealt with a number of crises and challenges. Good Day DePaul's Theodora Coulivaris talked to some people at DePaul to see how they feel the president is doing.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Just over a year ago, President Joe Biden was sworn in as the 46th President of the United States.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
On the campaign trail, Biden promised to ease the pandemic in the U.S., rebuild the economy, and tackle climate change. 1 year later, Biden's approval rating has dropped as he continues to face some of these same challenges he promised to combat.
No president, succeeds in doing everything that they promise when they are campaigning. Joe Biden had major and still has major challenges, most notably COVID and the economy, right? Whether it comes to unemployment or whether it comes to inflation, these are things that affect households all across the country.
A year ago, the United States entered the second year of the COVID-19 pandemic. On his first day in office, Biden signed an executive order requiring all Americans to wear face masks on federal property. In his first 100 days, Biden managed to deliver on one COVID-19 related campaign promise, getting COVID-19 shots into the arms of Americans.
This team will help get at the last 100 million COVID-19 vaccine, at least 100 million COVID vaccine shots into the arms of the American people in the first 100 days. 100 million shots in the first 100 days.
Biden's administration reached that goal ahead of schedule on the 58th day of his presidency. By day 100, his initial goal doubled, with 200 million Americans receiving COVID-19 vaccinations.
Now 64% of Americans are fully vaccinated, which is huge, but we could, of course, get that number up. The vaccination process has been so politicized that people are wary to get the vaccine, to put it nicely.
And on July 4th, the president declared the worst of the virus was over.
Look around right now. That is just not true. That's not how many people feel all across the country. And just the numbers. I mean, we've never had as many people who have tested positive as we've had recently.
The pandemic is far from over. The emergence of the Omicron variant in December led to a record-breaking number of COVID-19 cases. Hospitals were overwhelmed with COVID patients. All this as millions of Americans scrambled to find access to COVID-19 tests, which were in short supply.
I don't think you can necessarily say that the additional variants in the COVID situation are necessarily his fault. Now, what you can say is, now has his administration responded quick enough? And I think we've seen some delay, but I also say, let's see what happens with these tests that are supposed to arrive in the mail.
In response to the latest surge, the Biden administration announced that 400 million N95 masks will be available to Americans for free at pharmacies and healthcare centers across the country. And the White House recently launched a website for Americans to request free at-home COVID-19 tests. Some, however, believe Biden has placed too much attention on the pandemic.
For Americans, I think COVID is becoming less of an important issue, and there's still And it seems like the Biden administration is focusing more on COVID than what most Americans care for. And I think generally there's just people are getting tired of COVID. You know, people are tired of hearing the word COVID and Zoom.
But the pandemic isn't Biden's only challenge. So is COVID-19's impact on the economy. To address the economic troubles brought on by the pandemic, Biden proposed a COVID relief package called the American Rescue Plan. The $1.9 trillion package, signed into law in March of last year, offered much-needed relief to Americans, including $1,400 in stimulus checks and $400 a week in unemployment benefits through September. According to a January jobs report from the Department of Labor, the U.S. economy added 467,000 jobs last month, better than what was expected given the latest COVID-19 surge. And during his first year alone, the economy added 6.6 million jobs. Nonetheless, Americans continue to feel economic pressures at stores and gas stations as inflation reaches a 40-year high, rising to 7%. This is due in part to the global supply chain and labor shortages. And some economists say the president's stimulus package put too much money into the economy, leading to inflation. Ryan Williams, president of the DePaul College Republicans, believes Biden has focused too much on race and gender, issues he says do not impact most Americans.
They do exist. There are issues there, but the Biden administration has really been focusing on that. While Americans see things like empty shelves at the store, that's something that really affects pretty much every American. Same with gas prices. When you see gas prices go up, or just prices generally going up because of inflation, those are issues that affects Americans daily.
On the foreign policy side, the president's approval ratings suffered after the pullout from Afghanistan, with many criticizing him for how abruptly it happened and for the many Afghans who wanted to leave the country but could not. Currently, Biden is dealing with a crisis in Eastern Europe as Russia threatens to invade Ukraine. Nick Katrubis, the chair and master of public administration at DePaul School of Public Service, says that Biden began his presidency as a healer-in-chief, which he believed the country needed at that time.
Now, the question is can he adapt his style and presidency? I still think we need that sort of soft-spoken healer-in-chief, but now he needs to be more directive and more of a pointed president in dealing particularly with the Ukraine and Russia situation, and look as a strong leader.
As the situation in Ukraine continues to unfold, Biden still faces obstacles at home, particularly in Congress. Last year, Congress passed the president's major infrastructure bill to improve roads, bridges, and transportation. But Biden failed to get support to pass laws related to voting rights and his major social policy and climate change bill known as Build Back Better. Part of the bill would have allocated $555 billion towards shifting the economy's reliance on fossil fuels to clean energy sources instead. Charlie Lay, a member of the DePaul College Democrats, says he wanted Biden to focus more on climate change this past year.
We did rejoin the Paris Climate Accords, but we're still using so much oil and natural resources, non-renewable resources, when we could be doing more to get more on the electric bandwagon for cars and stuff like that, which he has been in the infrastructure bill. They gave incentives to people who buy electric cars. They're putting in electric car chargers.
But with the Senate split in half and moderate Democrats Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema refusing to vote to eliminate the filibuster, it will be difficult for Biden to get his legislative agenda through Congress.
I think that he ultimately will need to bring in that sort of, there's this wide spectrum of Democrats from very progressive liberals to very conservative Democrats, that he has to figure out a way to get his agenda through. And if not, as we potentially may see in the 2022 midterms, he may lose one or both chambers of Congress, which will only stifle his ability to get things through.
With those midterms just months away, it remains to be seen if Biden will be able to pass his legislative agenda before then. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Theodora Coulivaris.
And coming up on Good Day DePaul, some DePaul tennis players are honored.
And more success for the DePaul esports team. Stay with us.
Today, the heroes that fight day in and day out on the front lines. Those who are there, innovating in real time, saving lives and answering the call to care in times of crisis. American nurses. Nurses who have been there for each and every one of us in times of crisis for more than 150 years. Nurses are the pillar of strength and the foundation of healthcare and life itself. Nurses are there the day we are born. They are there when your family is in crisis, and they are there in the end. In confronting the most catastrophic health crisis in modern history, we must remember our American nurse heroes need our support as much as we need them. To show our gratitude for their courage and ensure they receive the critical education and support services they need, donate to the Coronavirus Response Fund for Nurses today, in honor of your American nurse hero.
Joshua Hicks is here now with Good Day DePaul Sports. Joshua?
Tiffany, some good news for the men's basketball team. The Blue Demons got their second Big East win of the season, beating number 21 Xavier on the road 69-65. Senior guard Cavassier McCauley led the team with 21 points off the bench. But before that, another tough loss. This one against UConn at Wintrust Arena.
DePaul took on number 20 UConn, and the game started neck and neck, with Blue Demons senior forward Yor Ani grabbing an offensive rebound and scoring off his own miss. On the next possession, DePaul's graduate forward Brandon Johnson hits a big three off the pick and roll screen. And the Blue Demons keep it going, with sophomore forward David Jones going hard to the basket for an easy layup. At halftime, DePaul was up 29-28. But the team came out flat to start the second half, and UConn took over. Still, DePaul didn't give up, as graduate guard Javon Johnson scores the three-point shot off the dribble. But UConn was too much offensively, handing the Blue Demons a 57-50 loss.
Switching to women's basketball, DePaul lost a tough conference game to Creighton, 77-68, but bounced back against Big East rival Providence, 88-67. The Blue Demons are now 11-3 in conference play. Meanwhile, freshman forward Anissa Morrow adds to her list of accolades, being named the Naismith Trophy Jersey Mike's National Player of the Week. Morrow also won both the Big East Freshman of the Week and Player of the Week awards, becoming the first women's basketball player to sweep both awards 3 times. In other sports, both DePaul tennis teams came away with awards recently. Vito Tonic and Marino Jakic took home the Big East Male Doubles Team of the Week award, and Yulia Kazel-Bashiva was honored with the Big East Female Singles Player of the Week. That's sports. Back to you, Maria.
Thanks, Joshua. Esports. It's a program at DePaul that's taking off in a big way. And as I found out, it's leading to some big success for the electronic Blue Demons. Behind the monitors, headsets, and multi-dimensional worlds stands DePaul University's Esports, a program centered around competitive gaming. Last fall, DePaul Esports won the 2021 Big East Championship game for League of Legends.
It means a lot. The reason why is because the past 4 years, we've always, at the very start, we always struggled to get first place. We always came short.
League of Legends is a multiplayer online battle arena game made up of 5 players per team, where each group's goal is to destroy the enemy's base.
And then now League of Legends is probably one of the most popular PC games in the world.
Defending its back-to-back League of Legends championship title has allowed DePaul Esports to distinguish themselves from the other 10 universities competing under Big East, including schools like Georgetown, Butler, Villanova, and St. John's.
Having a success like this is a really big validation, because any success you have is built on a mountain of work that's not exciting, not talked about.
The program has not only been able to grow its titles, but as well as its members and coaches.
It definitely brings in more students.
For esports players, it is more than just a game, but allows them to put their skills of communication, collaboration, and critical thinking to the test.
You're having to communicate very clearly, and you're planning and practicing. You're building tactics that you're going to run and execute in the game.
Their accomplishments don't stop here. This spring, they will be competing in a 10-week Big East tournament, hoping to make it to the end.
It's only the beginning, is the way I think of it.
For Good Day DePaul, I'm Maria Marta Guzman.
Coming up, a DePaul Film School graduate wins a prestigious award.
It's next on Good Day DePaul.
2004 Skateboard Championship.
High school, moped.
What about you, Slim? Anything?
Something.
Looks like Slim's got a little paper cut.
It's nothing.
Come on, man. You know I'm gonna make you tell me.
Hey, kidney transplant.
When, dude? I didn't know you were sick.
I was donating it. Someone in your family?
You gave your kidney to a complete stranger?
Yeah, saved his life.
Wow. All right. Everyone can save a life by being a living organ donor on matchingdonors.com.
A DePaul graduate was recently honored at the Sundance Film Festival. Don Josephus Raphael Elbahan won the Grand Jury Prize for short film. The film, The Headhunter's Daughter, deals with an indigenous person in the Philippines, Elbahan's home country. Elbahan graduated from DePaul School of Cinematic Arts in 2019.
That's all for this week's edition of Good Day DePaul. You can keep up with us by visiting our Vimeo channel at Good Day DePaul or by going to goodday.depaul.edu.
And make sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
And if you have any news tips, message us through the Good Day DePaul social media channels. Thanks for watching. I'm Tiffany Payton.
I'm Joshua Hicks.
And I'm Maria Marta Guzman. Have a good day, DePaul.